What's up, everybody? We are here at AFTERBUZZ, ready to go live with Modern Family Season 8, Episode 10, Ringmaster Keifth. Not Keith, not Keith, but Keith. Keifth. That's a tough one. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome to AFTERBUZZ, guys. I am here tonight by myself. It's super sad. I miss Nikki so much. I'm Jessie Zahner. I'm your host tonight on AFTERBUZZ TV. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you like our video and comment on our video. Because I'm here by myself tonight. We're missing our co-host, Nikki Preston. She's out on vacation, so she'll be back next week. So tonight we're going to talk Modern Family, episode 10 of season 8. It's Ringmaster Keifth, and I thought that was going to be a lot easier to say, but it's actually really hard, so I can understand how Mitch got that messed up. So let's get into it, because I love Modern Family episodes that deal with holidays. They're just so much fun. So tonight, what is going on in the episode is that it's New Year's Day celebration at Jay's house. So we start out with Phil. Phil has come to, he's created his resolution for 2017, and it is to live more dangerously. So we'll get into that in a little while. But first, Gloria and Jay are poolside. They're waiting for everybody to come over. Everybody's arriving one by one slowly. And basically Stella tries to kill Gloria, or that's what she thinks, because what happens is Stella, which is the cutest dog, goes for her ball, which is under this like roller bar type thing that has, I think, a blenders on it. And when Stella goes under, luckily Jay and Gloria just stepped out of the hot tub, but the entire thing rolls into the hot tub and basically could electrocute Gloria. So she thought Stella was trying to kill her, and that might be realistic, because Jay does love Stella. So maybe Stella's trying to get rid of Gloria so that, she can have Jay all to herself. So they get out of the pool, and Gloria's, thinks Stella tried to kill her. So Mitchell brings up estate planning and what would happen to Joe if anything happened to Jay and Gloria. So that starts a bigger conversation that goes throughout this episode. Just to basically, what's your backup plan? And Jay and Gloria don't have anything yet. So we find out that even though they don't have a plan for this, Gloria has been kind of saving up money from each of her paychecks over time to send Manny to school. However, she has put it in a bag. It's $40,000, and it's called her disappear bag, so that if she ever needs to disappear with a lot of money, she has this bag, she just grabs and runs. Jay had no idea any of this was going on, and so he asks her, where is the bag? And Gloria cannot remember. And this is so funny, because this is something that I do all the time. So she starts singing a song about where it is, and she can't remember where it is. So this leads them to go down to the basement and search for the missing disappearing bag. So while they're down there, they're uncovering everything, and they're thinking about who's going to take care of Joe. If anything were to happen, and they're discussing, do we give Joe over to Mitch and Cam, who raised Lily, or do we, give him over to Phil and Claire? Where is Joe going to be, where is he going to be best taken care of? While they're doing that, Gloria sees Jay open a bag, and Jay is it's basically like one of those manila envelopes that you send out. Jay's like, what's this? So he opens it and he pulls out a tape, and Gloria's like, no, don't look at that. And it's a videotape, and on it says, if I go missing, it was my husband. Basically setting up Jay if Gloria ever is to go missing. So that was just a funny touch. She has so many secrets and just so many funny things about her that you find out throughout the seasons. It's so Gloria. So while they are digging through there, they Gloria comes to this part of the basement and she sees this little hook and she's like, that's where the bag is. And she is wondering, where is it? It's gone. Earlier in the episode, what happens is Alex and Haley are going to For Shizzle Fest, which is like a 90s concert, I guess. I don't know what Faux Shizzle Fest is, or if that is even a real thing, maybe it is. So they came over to kind of go through the closets and look for 90s themed vintage outfits that they can wear. And so they must have taken the disappearing bag. So what happens is Gloria texts Alex and Haley 100 times because they're at a concert now with $40,000 in their bag. So I don't even know where to begin with how I would feel going through that. Haley and Alex get the text messages and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So they leave the concert immediately and they are so stressed out. And it's really funny because there's not many times in these episodes where I see Haley really panicking. Alex is, she has a little bit more anxiety and stress than the rest of them, but Haley is really stressed out and she's holding the bag and she doesn't want to get robbed. And it's just a really funny moment. It's really all that we see out of Alex and Haley for this episode. So let's move on to Phil and Claire because they have a whole nother situation going on outside of what's going on with Jay and Gloria, even though they're all there for New Year's Day. So like I said, he's trying to live more dangerously this year. And we see him at the beginning of the episode leaving an amusement park. They're going to ride one of those, I don't know what they're called, but it's like a machine. It's not a machine. It's like a ride where you get in and you strap in and you go really high in there and then you come down. Almost like you're bungee jumping, but you're getting like sprung into the air. I don't know. It looks really scary. I've never rode one before. I can't imagine. So this is his New Year's resolution in action. He's going to ride this ride and he gets there and he's looking at the ride and you can see he doesn't want to do it. And so Claire says, I think I'm too afraid to do it. Let's go. So they're over at Jay and Gloria's and Phil's dad shows up. And I love Phil's dad because Phil is my favorite character on the show, but his dad is also a great, character that shows up every now and then. He's great. So Frank shows up and they go to welcome him. He's in his RV and he comes out with Lorraine. And Lorraine is Phil's old babysitter and his first crush. So he's like, what is my dad doing with my first crush? Like, what is going on? So he has this awkward moment with Frank at this time. They have a really awkward conversation. And then basically the rest of the day, Phil just tries to avoid Frank. And Claire realizes it because she's smart. She's onto these things. And she tries to get Phil to talk to Frank, but that's not happening. They don't talk in their family. And she tries to say, well, why don't you be a little bit more dangerous and risky and, go do something that you guys don't normally do. But Phil's not having it. So what she does is she comes up with this plan to kind of trap them in the same space. So she sprays Frank accidentally with a hose. So he has to go back in the RV to change. And then she comes in and tells Phil, hey, your dad passed out. You better go check on him. So he runs into the RV. She locks the door and she, forces them to have a conversation. So they're locked in. They have no choice but to, Phil confronts Frank about this. And they do it in a really nice way. Nothing really happens. He just says, this isn't anything serious. Phil was worried that he was thinking about Lorraine while he was still married to Phil's mom. And Frank says, no, I didn't even realize she was your babysitter. This is not serious. I loved your mother. So they have a really short conversation, literally like a minute, and they come out and they're all happy and they think they have everything figured out. And Phil comes out and he says, oh, you know what? It's not a big deal because this is not serious. And Claire's like, oh, is it not serious? Because he has a ring box in his pocket. And Phil's like, no, that could be anything. It could be a Rubik's Cube. It could be this, that. And she's like, no, I know it's a ring box. So Phil, is kind of shaken up by that. So he decides to confront Frank. And when he goes to confront Frank about it, Frank is acting like he's old and confused and he's switching subjects. And Phil knows that he just doesn't want to talk about it. So he asks his dad to speak about this subject and he just can't. So Phil decides that since they can't talk about it like that, he's going to have to break it down to like knock knock jokes. And I don't know how he comes up with a knock knock joke that's like so perfect for this conversation that he has to have with his dad. But basically throughout the knock knock joke, he asks his dad if he's simply not going to ask Lorraine to marry him and be happy because of something that his son thinks. So they kind of, through the knock knock joke, somehow managed to communicate with one another and figure out that, Phil wants his dad to be happy. He's not mad. He understands. He just wanted to make sure that he wasn't thinking about Lorraine when she was a babysitter and not about his mom. So that works out. And towards the end of the episode, we see Frank propose to Lorraine. So it was a really, really sweet moment. So everything in that family, in the Dunphy family, was working out well. When we move over to Cam and Mitch, this is the best part of the show. And I feel like I say that every episode, but the writers write this story really good. So what happens is Cam needs a comeback meal from Thanksgiving. Because if you can remember, if you watched last episode, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago, they have the Thanksgiving dinner and he ruins the turkey. So he needs to make up for it. So he's bringing like a roast, he's a pig roast. He dug out a hole in the ground and he's putting the pig down there, and he manages to somehow mess this up too. So earlier in the episode, we find out that Jay and Gloria had gifts that they wanted to give Cam and Mitch because they were out in Missouri for Christmas. So one of the gifts that they got was Mitch got an E. Butler gift, which I don't know if this is a real thing, but if it is, I definitely need to use it. So Cam says, we need to use your E. Butler to basically bring us a roasted pig because your family is going to kill me if I ruin another holiday meal. So Mitchell agrees because he's like, my dad is not going to do well if this doesn't turn out right. He loves pork. We need to get this done. So they call the E. Butler, and somehow, I have no idea how, Cam noticed the voice on the phone. He knows exactly who it is. He's like, it is Keifth. Keifth. Really hard to say. So Keifth is one of Cam's old boyfriends who conducted a circus, and he basically, how they broke up is he just left and disappeared. He didn't say anything and just left Cam, and Cam was heartbroken by it. Because this Keith was such a sophisticated guy, and he was so, I don't know, sophisticated, but you're a circus guy. I don't know, but Cam really liked him at the time and was heartbroken when he left and didn't say anything. So while Mitchell's on the phone, Cam's like, no, don't tell him to come. Mitch hangs up the phone and Cam tells him, this is Keith. This is the guy who left me in the middle of the night. I'm going to lose it if he comes here. So it's hilarious because just like I'm struggling to say Keith, Mitchell can't get it right either. Mitchell thinks it's Keith. Cam corrects him. It's not Keith. It's Keith. Then he tries Keith. Nope, it's Keith. So Keith comes to the rescue. He shows up with the roasted pig, and we find out Keith is actually Kelsey Grammer. So that was an interesting guest appearance. It's really fun when they have these guest appearances because they had one last episode with the girl from Saturday Night Live, and now they had Kelsey Grammer this episode, and he played this role so perfectly. He just acts like you would think that he was the circus conductor or whatever the lead of the circus is. It's so funny because what they have to do is they basically have to get everybody out of the backyard so that they can take this pig and put it down into the ground without anybody seeing. So Keith comes up with this big plan using this peacock, and the entire time they're going through this, Cam is taking jabs at him, saying, I'm sure he'd rather just make the delivery and disappear. And then later he mentions that there's no apple in the mouth, and Keith says to just leave it. And he's like, is that your answer to everything? So he keeps calling him out on the abandonment issue that they had. So Keith, understands that, okay, yeah, you caught me, I was waiting for you to say this. So he basically tells Cam, it wasn't your fault I left. It was on him. It wasn't anything that Cam did. And so they have their proper goodbye and this weird moment together that Mitch kind of has to come and break up, but Cam finally gets closure. So like they do in Modern Family so well, at the end they wrap everything up. We see the proposal of Frank and Lorraine. Cam gets his closure. Phil goes and rides the ride with Claire and passes out on the ride, and they get this hilarious picture of him passed out on the ride. And then lastly, they're all eating dinner, and somebody mentions that they think that there's some type of nuts in, that was like, it was flavored with some type of nuts, and Alex is like, no, it's not flavored with nuts because, Cam would know I'm allergic to nuts. So he has to call Keifth to find out that, there were nuts that were included. So they tell Alex to spit it out, and the EpiPen is on the way. So just like they do in every Modern Family episode, they just wrap everything up so great. So, it's tough because lately I feel like we haven't been seeing a lot of the kids. So in this episode, we don't see Luke, Lily, Joe, or Dwight. I'm still waiting for Dwight to come back because we did have that incident between him and Alex, and then we really haven't seen him again. So I'm kind of curious on what exactly is going on. And then the part with Haley and Alex was so small this episode too. I would love to see what goes on with them. And Manny came in at the end for like a few seconds just to say basically that he would take care of Joe if anything were to happen to Gloria and Jay, and he has this whole plan figured out. So yeah. That's Modern Family. This episode is a great one. So let's, we don't have much time, so let's get into predictions for next week.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So maybe I should have said the predictions first, but I predict maybe we get like a more heavy children episode, because that's what I'm dying for. I loved seeing Haley with Rainier's daughter. I think that's how you say his name, Rainier. Rainer, maybe it's Rainer's daughter. I loved seeing that interaction because it was so Haley dealing with a little Haley. So I want to see what's happening with him if they're still dating. I'm not into that relationship. I just think he's too old for Haley. So I would like to see more with that. Again, Dwight and Alex, where is that going? Maybe we get a little bit more of Alex in school, and then also maybe we get some more of Luke and Mandy, because last episode actually was a really good one. It was the one about the dance that they had set up together at school, and that was actually one of my favorite episodes. So I'm hoping we get to see more kids. I honestly hope we get to see more Lily as well. She's been really quiet on this season, so maybe we get something else with Lily. I know Nikki and I had talked about possibly like some type of interaction between Lily and Dwight where they kind of like are teaming up against Cam and Mitch. So those are my predictions. And that's all for this episode of Modern Family. So again, guys, make sure you follow us, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at AfterBuzz TV. Like and comment on our videos. We'd love to hear from you. Nikki will be back next week. And until next week, I'm your host, Jessie Zahner. You can find me on all social media at Athletic. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.